Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. So hope you had a good holiday and it's been a little while since we opened it up to questions and answers. So let's go ahead and do that. Take a moment and think about something you'd like to talk about and you can unmute yourself or type in. Go ahead and fire away.
Give me just a sec, guys. I'll make it so you can unmute yourself if you want to talk one-on-one with Greg. But otherwise, definitely feel free to type into the chat any questions you have as well. I have the Angelic Encyclopedia book.
Mm.
Could you talk more about angelic awareness?
Sure. So, working with angels is an interesting thing. You can look at it from the point of view of kind of new agey kind of circles, and uh, that's one perspective you could say. This draws upon the old practice, a very ancient practice of theurgy, which is the practice of making yourself conductive to divine energies and angelic energies. So the idea of angelic awareness is we have different aspects of our mind. We have the intellect, which is based on things that we've learned, we've read, we've studied, we've memorized, but also it's based on past experiences. And the intellect is very repetitive in its nature. Like it likes to seek out things that it knows. And if there's things that it doesn't know, depending on how rigid a person's mind is, they might not let in new information unless it's through some sort of experience, or the experience could even be somebody influential saying something to you where you maybe think about it and go, right? So the idea of intelligence isn't just like, hey, I've studied a bunch of things, I've accumulated a bunch of information, and this makes me smart. Intelligence is your ability to tap into an energy with consciousness. So, intelligence isn't just the accumulation of information and knowledge from the past and our past experiences. It's the ability to tap into something that is beyond our past experiences. We're tapping into an energy with consciousness. So, on some level, you could say this is soul energy. This is tied to the light. You could say it's your higher faculties. You could also say it's divine energy or divine intelligence. And so, the idea of what is angelic awareness is it's starting to help increase the awareness of this intelligence that's associated with the soul, this intelligence that's associated with the light, this intelligence that is associated with aligning with the creative energy or divine intelligence. And then to take it a step further, there's actually portals within us, like kind of gateways where certain kinds of energies are laying dormant, or we are able to access these things in these areas. And this directly corresponds to our ability to connect and communicate with angels and then have that angelic energy come through us. You could think of the angelic portals as a kind of alignment in your nervous system with light. A lot of times we talk about like vagal tone and stress, which is what we would call dysregulation of the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight flight mechanisms, like fight, flight, freeze, and fawn would be the full explanation. And when you diminish the dysregulation in this area starts to regulate so that we're not always in fight flight mode, right? Or we haven't collapsed internally and we're in a freeze mode where we don't feel and we don't do things because of the freeze mode. When we regulate that and cultivate deeper levels of vagal tone, we're basically harmonizing our body so that we can experience light, right? When we're in a dysregulated state, when we're in a defensive mode or a protective mode, which is associated with fight flight, we're not letting light in. We are diminishing the amount of life force and the amount of light that comes in. And not only that, it's when we're stuck in this mode, it not only does it not let life force in, it diminishes life force, right? Over a period of time, potentially it could actually shorten somebody's life. Definitely affect the quality of life, right? And so this is more than just a spiritual practice. This is also a healing practice. And when we have cultivated vagal tone, which is a deeper level of rest and repair, and we've diminished the fight flight responses and regulated them so that our nervous system is functioning more appropriately, it accelerates our body's ability to heal, but it also increases our ability to experience light, to let light in, to let life force in, to let healing processes in the body, in the emotions, and the mind happen. You could think of this from a spiritual point of view as your altar, your life altar or your personal altar. We set up an altar where we put a picture of the teacher or deity and maybe a couple rocks and you know certain kind of incense and little things that have deep meaning for us that we sit and we maybe do our meditation or our prayers and everything. So we're setting the space for us to be able to sit down and have this deeper experience than we could have when we're driving the car or sitting in the office or, sitting with a bunch of other people chatting. This space is dedicated for our practice of experiencing different levels of peace and stillness. And in your body, that is the balance of the nervous system, which is fight, flight, and rest and repair. When you balance out these two things, it's like setting up your inner altar, your life altar, right? Then, we come to our altar and we sit down and we're like, okay, I'm supposed to do something here in front of this altar. Like I'm supposed to pray, I'm supposed to meditate, I'm supposed to chant a mantra, I'm supposed to reflect, something. And this next aspect is tied to aligning your nervous system with the light. A lot of the practices that we do are tied to this process. Are a level to walk in the light, walk the path of light, be surrounded by a ball of light, stand in a pillar of light, whatever version of that you identify with, right? All of it is tied to how much our nervous system is aligned with light. At first, the step is to set the altar, right? To balance out those two parts of your nervous system. But the alignment of light comes from a different part of your nervous system. It comes from the part of your nervous system that is tied to movement. It's voluntary part of your nervous system or the somatic nerves. And so this is what moves your arms, and what moves your legs and your head, and you twist your head from side to side, and all these kinds of things. And so our mind has a bigger impact on this part of the nervous system than other areas. And how much we allow this light in, how much we allow divinity in, how much we allow the soul to have impact on our lives and on our body, our emotions, our mind, the patterns in our lives. It's it's correspondingly like the level and degree that the mind and the nervous system are aligned with the light will dictate how much of that soul energy comes in, right? And so if we want to walk the path of light, if we want to experience the light, if we want to have a deeper experience of being surrounded by the ball of light, it's dependent on how well we align ourselves with the light. It's not just a thing where I go, I decide I'm aligning with the light, or it's a phrase that I say. We're constantly trying to nudge the mind in this direction. When we do the materialization breath, that's part of what we're doing. When we're doing the three brain process, that's part of what we're doing. When we surround ourselves with a ball of light, part of what's happening there is on some level, we're increasing the alignment between the light and our true nature with our nervous system, right? We're trying to minimize the blockages or the filters that things have to go through so that the light and the nervous system are one, right? The light just flows through the nervous system. So in Astara, this is referred to as nerve fluid, right? It increases the rate of healing. It increases the rate of healing emotionally and mentally as well, not just physical healing, but it helps to accelerate our spiritual growth and our spiritual development. You could say our 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 spiritual development becomes much greatly accelerated when the nerve fluid in our system increases. And so this also means deeper levels of healing, deeper levels of breaking out of patterns. A lot of times we think of, oh, I need to release this. I need to heal this old trauma. I need to forgive something or someone, or I need to get this idea or this repetitive thought out of my head. Really, all of those things are a reflection of that part of our nervous system and the light aren't aligned. If we can continually keep aligning with this aspect, then at some point we don't have to release the things that have happened in the past, the old traumas and the fears. We're just done with it. We just get up and walk away from it. And you kind of don't look back. Like you're in a kind of alignment where they cease to exist. They just aren't there anymore. And a lot of times, these different things that we're trying to heal are in these loops in the intellectual mind. Because remember, the intellect is about loops, it's about all kinds of loops in the nervous system and in the endocrine system and your immune system in your thought processes, even in the emotional body. And so this idea of practicing angelic awareness and then increasing the potential for you to access the portals within you deepens our ability to align ourselves with the light. You could say awakening or enlightenment or soul realization, self-realization. It's really just an alignment. It's aligning your nervous system with something very specific, like consciously aligning it. And it's not something that you're just reaching out and going, ah, there's something there I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't know what it is. It is really mechanically aligning light and the nervous system. That's what it is. It's if you boil down what we talk about in Astara all the time, that's what we're talking about. The alignment, you know? And so it doesn't matter what your religious or spiritual background is, the mechanics are the mechanics. And if you follow the mechanics, it helps to breathe deeper life into the practices that you might already be doing. So, boy, I went on a tangent.
Thank you. He said. And for those of you who are just coming in, you can send a question over to us. You can unmute yourself. You can talk one-on-one with Greg, if you unmute, and it can be more of a conversation. I love doing the Astara affirmation where it says, I'm surrounded by the pure white light of the Christ.
Mm.
Is this the same as the ball of light?
Yes, yes, it is. You can do either one. We just kind of shortened it up and made it a little bit more attractive to people that didn't feel that they had to become Christian to do it. And so, we want people to be able to do whatever their practice is, whatever their spiritual, tradition is, and not feel that it's about that. But when we surround ourselves with light, it's not just Christ. There's 24 spiritual elders that are always involved with Earth. Like their energy body encompasses the whole Earth. So when we surround ourselves with light, we're surrounding ourselves not just with the light of Christ, but it's the light of all 24 of these great, great beings. Yeah.
Someone shared, so happy for this tangent. I think it was for the last one. Thank you. Fits right into this personal alignment work for this full moon.
Oh, good. Yeah, good for you.
No more questions. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. No, go ahead, Dan.
Hey, guys, um, for that, that just really sparked something very interesting. With the 24 beings you said,
Mhm.
like who are they? Where can I find like more information on these?
There's not really the only place that I know of where they're all listed and they would be names that wouldn't make sense to you or I is in the Jain tradition. You
Okay.
know, uh, at the at the end of the Bible, in Revelations, John says, seated, like seated on the throne of God as 24 spiritual elders.
Mm,
Like, so that's mentioned, but it's not, saying all their different names, right? Like if you look at Christ, going back to even the Jain tradition, different cultures are going to call a being by a different name. Like, so we say Christ, but if you're a Hindu, you would say Krishna. And if you're a Buddhist, you'd say Maitreya. It's talking about the same being.
right.
That being usually shows themselves in an image that is associated with that culture so that they can like process it.
Right.
And so, you know, I think there's different ones that you can go through and say, that one's one. Even, if you say like Kuan Yin, obviously
Right.
Kuan Yin's one of them. If you said Manjushri, it would be one of them. But what is that name in the Christian tradition? there might be a name, there might not, it's
Okay.
hard to say.
Okay.
And so, and I would say I don't think that all the names are. Some of the higher beings are more public, and some of them aren't. Like
Okay.
some of them are quietly doing what they do,
Right.
and so. I would say if you looked at any of the traditions and you go, oh, look, there's, this deity and this deity, most likely, like Tara would be another one. You know.
The different colored taros. The
Yeah,
taros. Yeah.
yeah. I would say the Tara, those are just different facets of Tara. It's
Okay.
one being, but it's
Okay.
like you're seeing different facets of
Or
that.
aspects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Wow. Wow. I'll look. Yeah. Okay.
Because
Well,
even if you look at Kuan Yin in the Chinese and the Japanese traditions is
uh,
feminine, but when you look at Kuan Yin in the Tibetan tradition,
yeah.
that same being is masculine.
Right.
And so it's not always like a woman or a female figure or a male figure all the way through. It depends on their task. So the idea of like 21 Taras is you're seeing different facets of that same being.
Same
It's not just the one
intellect or
aspect.
energy.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So great. Thanks. Another question too that came up was in practicing the taro with the taro oils.
Mhm.
That do you do that like once a week or twice a week, or when you're going through the arcana? Is that just like to start with, or what do you think is a good?
What was it with the Tara oils
Yeah, with the taro
or
oils.
Taurus?
Taro. Yeah,
Oh,
taro.
Tarot. Okay, gotcha.
Taro. Sorry, Mike. Yeah.
Um, uh, I when I do it, I usually do it daily. Like
Daily.
I kind of start with the Arcana and then work my way through, or I'll drop down into one of the elements and then work one, two, three, four, five.
Oh, okay. So it's like daily do one, daily do the next one,
Yeah, I would.
daily
Like
do
if you're really trying to work something specific, like you could say focused on that one.
okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it kind of really got into it the other day. So, or I started Monday with one. I wasn't sure if you practice it twice a week before you go to the next one or stuff like that. But
It depends. Like I would say go through them all just to get the juices flowing.
right, yeah, there
And,
was
and then come back around and go, oh, this one's super, you know,
okay, right,
super
okay,
special.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I just started on the first one, and it was like man, it felt like a shift. Wasn't sure what it was, but there was a shift going on, kind of thing. So that
Yeah.
was kind of neat. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then we had a couple questions here come in as well. Someone said, any particular toning to do daily to increase the light quicker?
Just the act of toning. The act of toning is helpful. The materialization breath, all the different practices that we're doing, we're tweaking different pieces, and it's not just about like trying to do the one thing. Is we got to set the altar and we got to get ourselves in a place where we can start aligning, and then when we start aligning we're also going to be releasing and stepping away from things, and internally, and so I would say all the different practices that we do are always playing a role in that. The deeper level of aligning the nervous system with the light is tied to the practice of like when you put your awareness on your brain and then your spine and then eventually the soles of your feet. And what you're doing is you're concretizing light to such a degree where the light and your nervous system start to like intermix and entwine. And the nervous system is able to shift into that place where it stays in alignment with the light. That's the beautiful thing about working with angels is it like holds a space that allows you to gently shift. It doesn't like shove you into the direction. It doesn't make you shift. It just kind of holds this space that your nervous system can just gently align with when you're ready. And if you're not ready, holding that space helps you to get ready, helps you to unwind some of those past experiences and traumas and things like that, so that when the alignment happens, it's very, very soothing. Yeah.
Thank you. Another question, there's two more. So are they actually 24 divine energies?
Oh, there's more, but there's the 24 elders associated with the earth. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Greg. I consider you my spiritual guidance who we can talk. Listening to your explanations can be absolutely walking toward the light you described. By attending these meetings, it has been enlightening to my soul. Thank you so very much. I want to say that I have been guidance by the spirits of earth. I do transfer to them when I experience challenges. What do you think? As a matter of fact, I would like to let you know that I lost a pint of blood yesterday. I did receive a message that I had lost this blood as a cleanse to my brain. I am okay. I'm feeling better and more energized. How do you explain this experience? So long questions.
I don't, I need more information about the blood loss. Yeah.
They did continue. Interesting the things you are mentioning, a space such as an altar. I have a special room with dozen of crystal and other metaphysical items that I call my lab.
Oh, good. Yeah. I'm so sorry. We gotta go over to the Mystic Vibration stream, and maybe we'll just handle a question or so there, and then we'll do a practice.